Good evening, everybody. I hope you all having a fantastic Tuesday so far. So I am here with the incredible and super talented, no pun intended, Zeeshan from Super Leads Media. Zeeshan and I kept connected, what was it, about a year or two ago now, wasn't it?
Yeah, about a year or so ago, yeah.
Yeah, and we've been following each other ever since. And I've just seen this dude grow and grow and grow. And I've loved seeing your progression so far as well, and how you've niched into helping businesses generate more leads. But like, how did you get into all of that?
Oh wow, it's been a passion of mine for quite a number of years, to be honest. Especially social media in general. I feel like I've just grown up with it, and fortunately, I've just been passionate about it as well. So for quite a number of years, and so it's just been something that I think when I started, I would say probably started my journey. I normally say started probably back in 2011, really, with a lot of content marketing, that sort of thing. I started with like video. That was quite a passion of mine. You know, I used to see people do it on YouTube and what have you. You know, I was always just fascinated, you know, with that process. And so I did that, and then obviously eventually I did that for other people and businesses and what have you. And still somewhat do that as well now. But then obviously, I then took it a lot more serious in terms of, you know, actually incorporating other things like obviously advertising. So which is kind of what you see now, and then now graduating to funnels, basically, which is you know, bringing people through a funnel essentially to from a cold into a hopefully a red hot lead. So yeah.
Why are you going down the funnel route?
The funnel route is the future, really, of how you do it now, because I think a lot of the time people think they can just put an ad out and hope for the best, really. You know, to put it blunt, it's just hope for the best, and you know, maybe you'll get a lead, maybe you'll get some followers, and that might make you happy, but it might not be great in the sense that at the end of the day, you want people to keep coming back, and also to be more of a solid customer of yours, where they don't just come in once, hopefully they buy, you know, fingers crossed type of thing, and then they go away forever. You kind of want them to come in, enjoy the experience of what you do and what you offer, and then stay with you, really, you know, for the long haul.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, what kind of funneling techniques do you use?
I think it varies, really. I think it depends on the business as well. So it really could vary from actually having landing pages done, or if you've already got a website that's already, you know, fully optimized, and then you've got just how you advertise, so the kind of strategies you use to advertise your products and services. There's always a way to do it in that way as well.
Nice. What's your favorite so far then? Or your favorite method?
My favorite method, again, it depends. You know, it depends on what kind of business it is. I think I've always enjoyed the video aspect of it. You know, the video aspect of where, you know, you create one video and it's really just you introducing the world to who you are and why you're so passionate about what you do. And then, you know, you kind of like, hopefully, if quite a lot of people have watched that, which is the aim of it, of course, and you don't want that video to be too short, because then it kind of messes with the analytics side of things when it comes to Facebook. And then, you know, you kind of like graduate that to the next stage of your funnel, where you get people to watch more of it. Well, you target the people that maybe watched 50%, 80% of that video, because most likely if you put a video out that's, you know, 20 minutes, 30 minutes long, and somebody's watched 80% of that video, most likely that person's quite interested or intrigued. They're not a buyer just yet, but they're quite intrigued on who you are. Maybe it's you that they like, maybe it's your style, or maybe it's your products. It could be anything, right, that they like. And so, yeah, so then, you know, you take them to the next stage and so on and so forth. So I do quite enjoy that.
Basically nurturing them at every single stage of the buying process, really, aren't you?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if you think about high-end stores and how they do it, or even hotels, for example, you know, what do they do? Like, how do they actually offer you the high-level service? And it's kind of like, you know, they're not too pushy. They kind of just bring you in. It's like inviting you in, essentially, without being so forceful, I guess. And you know, car salesy, you know, that bad rep that car salesmen get. Yeah, it's like that. It's like they bring you in. they let you browse a little bit maybe, and then they say, oh, you're interested in this, and that might, you might be interested in that, and then slowly but surely you become a regular customer. Yeah.
So I've had some really crazy figures that people buy after like the 5th exposure, the 16th exposure. Is there an actual figure that people choose to buy on average?
On average, yeah, I know what you mean. Each customer I think is different. I think it really is. So if you're targeting people that already follow you, I think the number will be much less because they already know who you are, right? But if it's a completely brand new person where you're targeting maybe a geographical location, for example, or somebody who has key interest in a certain area, then it may take longer. I think on average, people I think there's a study done where they said it can take anywhere from 7 to 12 exposure, is like you said, for them to actually opt in. So yeah.
So is it safe to say that you understand the buying psychology then? Or
yeah.
What influences people to buy?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that's one thing that I like to focus on. I think that's what probably differentiates me a bit from others, is that I like to kind of look at the psychology aspect of it, because the psychology of somebody buying in person is different to somebody buying digitally or online.
What's the difference?
Well, the difference is that, people that are buying in person, there's obviously, I think it's just like, it's more, I don't think it's too hard to convince somebody when it's in person as opposed to it being somebody digitally. Because you can immediately provide that service. You can immediately answer those objections and that sort of thing as well, like if it's in person. Whereas if it's, online, that person might see something, and I think it takes a lot less for a person to divert their attention if it's online. It could literally be anything. Sometimes, I go on websites and they sometimes use like a two-column kind of layout approach to their website, which immediately makes the user think, okay, I need to decide whether I want to look at that side or I want to look at that side of the web page. And so immediately you're making a customer make a decision, right? And if they make the wrong decision, even themselves, and they read the side of the website that they're not really that interested in, they might actually just click off and just close that web page, right? And that's it. You may have lost that person forever. So even the layout of it's crazy, isn't it? It's like even the layout of your website is quite interesting as well, and making sure that if your website is like in this type of layout on your desktop, then hopefully you're replicating that on your mobile experience as well.
Yeah, I mean, Amazon, I think, did it best when they introduced the one-click service, which was basically revolutionized the e-commerce section. So for those of you who don't know, Amazon figured out that the more clicks a buyer has to do, the less likely it is that they're going to buy. So Amazon thought, okay, let's introduce this thing where we can offer people the opportunity to just click one button and that's it. Their order is done, it's posted to them. And that worked out wildly successfully for them.
Yeah, I mean, it's all about that experience. I think I was watching an interview that Jeff Bezos gave, and he said, we're not here to force people to buy our products. It's more like assisting them. And that, if you think about it, sometimes, and now you've actually found that other people use that as well, where they might say, you're 2 clicks away from purchasing this, and this, and it makes a huge difference where if I can just click once and buy something, that's amazing. Yeah.
Guys, if you've got any questions for Zeeshan, he is the absolute master at funnels and sales and just digital marketing in general. Leave a comment and I'll be sure to ask him. But you mentioned before about like each individual customer is different, because obviously we are all very unique in our own individual way, right? But is there a specific sort of process that you go through with clients, or is it kind of all completely bespoke?
It's a combination of both. I do want to make it bespoke because obviously, like we said, right, all companies are different and all companies are unique. I guess the process that I like to take is I like to get a deep understanding of the business from start, middle, and end, really, which doesn't have to take long because I've got my little layout that I go through, with potential clients where I want to understand, why did you start your business? Where were you, or where are you currently, essentially, and where would you like to go in the future? And kind of like what's stopping you as well, right? And so so I go through that, and then the strategy that comes out of that is quite bespoke to who you are. So there's no off-the-shelf type of service or product, if you like, for clients.
So if somebody wanted to increase traffic to their website and they just had a fairly standard business, then what would you say to them? What would be your strategy for them?
I think, obviously, if you speak in more general terms, you kind of have to have a fully optimized website, firstly, because that's where you want everyone to come to, isn't it?
Yeah.
And so when we're looking at that, really, what are some of the top 5 type of things that a business needs to have. So when it comes to websites, it needs to be a fully optimized website, in the sense that, in terms of layout, in terms of the experience, do I get a similar experience when I use my mobile phone as opposed to when I'm on Safari or Chrome or on my desktop? Or is it very small? Is it sometimes you can't even read what's on there, or sometimes it just replicates like exactly what's on desktop onto your smartphone. And even if your smartphone's got a big screen, it's not that enjoyable of an experience. So you kind of want that. You kind of want to make sure that you're ticking off the basic stuff. So do you have is your domain name registered? Is it HTTPS? Have you got the security aspect of it? Because these things build trust. If I'm using Google Chrome or whatnot, you can see like a lock. You can see a lock on the top left. Does it have all of those basic type of things? The next thing you want to also look at is video. You really need to increase in the video. I know that you go on about this as well, Rahini, that you need to incorporate this in pretty much everything you do now. Don't get me wrong, there's still people that like to read, and I try to cater for both. I create videos, but I also try to write like a blog that goes along with it. So if you don't want to watch, you can always
transcribe the blogs.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So, and that's a perfect thing as well about videos. If you don't want to create videos now, you will be left behind. You will actually not you will kind of suffer in terms of like competition as well. Like if your competitors are using videos, unfortunately they will do a lot better than you, because videos they're just so much better. Right now you're watching this video, you can see the expression on my face, you can hear the tone obviously of my voice and the projection of my voice, you can see colors, you can see everything. So it kind of like gets your attention essentially. In terms of what language I'm using and that sort of thing as well. And so you need to maybe start incorporating that. And I would probably actually say most certainly actually, if you can incorporate that in your website, as soon as somebody enters your website, you can actually see a video where you're just welcoming them, or you're talking about maybe a special offer or whatever you're doing. Especially if you're brand new to the video game, you would just want to introduce yourself, who you are, what your goal is, why you're doing what you're doing. I'm kind of giving you the layout as well, by the way, which is like what are the services you offer and that sort of thing. And just incorporate that in what they call the God spot, or above the fold, which is basically as soon as you enter the website, what you see essentially is the God spot. As soon as you scroll, that's outside of the God spot, because most people don't like to scroll as well. And if you can't capture the attention of somebody, there and then most likely you will lose them all the way, really. And also,
just to interrupt you, speaking of the initial stages of lead generation, what about because Gareth's a photographer that I know and work with, really talented guy, and he's just asked about Facebook ads and Google ads. So how does that work in terms of using those?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, one of the things is paid ads. That's another way of obviously generating traffic as well. So I guess what I was mentioning earlier, those were more organic. Those are more like the free ways of actually getting getting more people on your website and also keeping them. But then, of course, you know, you have your paid ads as well. Obviously, there's different strategies that you can use as well. Depending on the type of business that you have, you know, you might want to use Google Ads, because if you're a plumber based in Birmingham, you're going to target people in Birmingham. As soon as they write plumber in Birmingham, hopefully, you know, your ad is one of the first ones that they see and can click on, and obviously, you know, call you and opt into your landing page. But that's if you've got a bit of money to obviously spend on that. It doesn't have to cost a lot of money as well. It literally now, obviously, with the lockdown, and if you've got like an e-commerce store, for example, you know, it's literally pennies. You know, you can run ads and you can get a sale which is pennies. So if your product that you're selling is £5, £10, £15 and it costs 50p, say, it might cost less than that actually. If it costs 50p, for example, that's not bad. You know, it's not bad in terms of your return on investment. And the great thing, obviously, with paid ads as well is, you know, you can monitor literally almost anything with your ads as well, in terms of who is targeting, what locations are really good and hot right now, which ones maybe you should focus on more. Also, your return on ad spend, you can even get that as well, which you can't get on traditional media as much, which is, you know, if you're putting an ad out there, you can actually see that, okay, if I've invested £100, I can see that this ad has generated me £1,000, right? It's funny, actually, I was speaking to a friend of mine in London, and he said he's got a friend who's in the more traditional media, where they create ads where they'll put it right after or in between the you know, the hot shows like on ITV and X Factor and that sort of thing. And he says one of the things,
do like targeting the audience,
yeah,
where they're going to out essentially.
Yeah, but he said one of the things that one of the things that differentiates like social media and traditional media, he said, was that they don't really have to promise or show in their reports like the return on ad spend, for example, because they don't have to do that, which is really interesting, especially if you're working in social media. We kind of do that. We can do that as well, because it helps us with the A to B testing as well. We can do, right, and all the different tactics.
So if somebody did want to set up a Facebook ad or a Google ad, what would you say the best practices are?
The best practice would be, first and foremost, you know, you want to use the right, so we call it a Facebook pixel, which is a piece of code that you can embed into the coding element of your website. That basically speaks, for anyone that doesn't know, that basically speaks from your website and your Facebook, or it takes the data from the people that are visiting from your Facebook ad campaigns to your website, and it can basically help you save a lot of money, because it's basically feeding the data back to Facebook, saying more women, for example, are probably visiting me between these ages and this kind of geographical location, that sort of thing. Once you've got that set up, which doesn't take too long, and it's fairly simple to do, then you want to start looking at some ads that you want to create. So one of the best ads, there's different types. There's different types. So for example, you've got lead generation ads, you've got video views ads, which you can get loads of views on, for example, which is sometimes a good one to start off with, especially if you're just trying to generate that interest. And then you got conversion as well, which is quite a powerful one to use as well. So you click onto that essentially on Facebook Ads Manager or Facebook Business Manager. So Facebook Business Manager is where you go, and that's actually where you create the real ads. That's where you can target who you want to target, get in real detail, and you want to stay away from the boost ads, which is quite intriguing, which is quite, you know, £1 on boost ads is great, but the problem with boost ads, you can't really get the data that you really want. So it's kind of like, if you get what you want to get, then that's great, but most likely you won't. So I normally stay away from that sort of thing, which you can see on Facebook in general. And then you simply, I think, if it's just starting out, just focus on the location. You can even put postcodes and cities if you wanted. And you can also even, so if you're a restaurant, for example, obviously you don't want somebody that's maybe over 100 miles away, but you can actually put the postcode of your restaurant, and then you can say, you could put a ring, like a 25-kilometer ring or something like that around. So you can do stuff like that. Yeah, so do that. Put so choose the audience, put the location in, Put how much you want to spend on your ads. So you might want to put like £5 a day or something like that, to start off with, and you just see how it goes. And that's it, and then obviously the next stage would be to create the ad. So put your video in. So if you create a video, just put the video in, you might have seen ads where they've got text at the top and text at the bottom. Just keep it simple. Try to stay away from words like free or I can guarantee you, £10,000 or something like that, because Facebook doesn't like that anymore. And that's it really. It doesn't take that's like the simple way of kind of like starting an ad campaign.
Is it a case of like trial and error a little bit when you're setting up your first ad campaign?
Yeah.
First of all, is it a case of trial and error? And that's the first part of the question. And the second part is, you mentioned earlier about boosting on Facebook. I mean, I have had a lot of people come to me and say, look, I want to boost my posts. What are the best practices? And I've gone, no, because I feel like boosting is great in the short term. It's great to get short-term exposure. What are your thoughts around on those two questions?
Yeah, I mean, I guess the way I describe boosting is basically like fireworks, essentially. You get fireworks, you light it up, it looks really nice and pretty, it makes a big sound, it looks nice for about 5-10 seconds, and then it's finished. So like you spend that money and it looks nice for a few seconds or so, and then that's it. And so yeah, it might get you something in the short term, but also that can hinder your chances, and also it can Facebook do punish certain businesses if your practices are the same. So if you're creating a boost post and you've got, say, I don't know, like 500 views on that, or maybe even 1,000 views, depending on how much you invested on that particular video, and then if people obviously come onto your page because of that, they look at all of the other things, other like posts, and you only got maybe 2 or 3 or 5 views, and that sort of thing. And what was your other question? Sorry.
I was actually going to ask. I've forgotten what the second question was, but I was going to ask, like, is it better to do organic reach on Facebook in terms of generating leads, or is it better to just do paid ads? Because I've heard different sides from different people.
Yeah. I would say both, actually. I think both go hand in hand. If you do organically, it's just you need to use things like Hootsuite if you wanted. In terms of actually spending maybe a few hours where you're creating content. You use apps like Hootsuite or Buffer, where you can actually even Facebook's Pages app, you can actually schedule posts through these apps. And so yeah, it's a matter of actually regularly posting. And posting with the right keywords. You can actually use hashtags now on Facebook as well, same as obviously Instagram and Twitter and even LinkedIn now. So with organic, it's just about regularly posting valuable quality content. So you don't really want to post content where that millions of other people have posted. Try to be a bit more authoritative and take a bit of a leadership stance. You're actually talking about something, right, and not something that I can easily Google. And then of course, if you can use paid ads, often it's quite interesting actually. Sometimes I'll create like an audio, or if I'm just reviewing somebody's website, their Facebook channels, or even Instagram, I look at maybe the post that they put currently, and I think actually, you know what, we can, with a bit of a tweak, we can actually use this in an ad campaign. Maybe you can change maybe the bit of the wording or something like that, or whatever it is, and we can use it in an ad campaign. And that's kind of what you want to get. You want to get to that stage where you posted content that potentially you can actually also use it for a paid ad as well.
Guys, for those of you who just joined us, this is Zeeshan from Livewire Media. He is the absolute master at helping businesses not only just gain massive exposure, but actually helping them to gain leads that are actually quality leads as well. If you've got any questions for him, drop them in the comments and we'll definitely be sure to ask him. Manoj has just asked, how does one increase YouTube views beyond the subscribers and posting on Facebook? There are tags which can be added. Is there anything else that can be done to promote clips?
Yeah, I mean, YouTube is kind of like where I started. I'm still there, by the way. I'm still with YouTube, so creating content and what have you. With YouTube, it's kind of similar to the Google question I got earlier, right? It's like some of the words you use. So the titles you give your, your YouTube videos. Also in the description box, what kind of what are you actually writing in there as well? That's quite important as well. Sometimes people put links in there. Are those links real links? Are the quality links? They're not going to break or anything like that, because Google obviously doesn't like that. And you mentioned tags, which is quite important, and the important thing about tags as well. And this kind of goes across Instagram hashtags as well as Facebook and so on and so forth. Try to use quality hashtags as well. So if you're you don't want the basic simple hashtags, right? So if you're a restaurant, again, you don't just want to write Indian food, for example, because that hundreds of
How do you
millions
know
of people.
what hashtags to use and find? Because there's loads of different software to say, like, put in this subject and we'll generate these hashtags for you. And somebody a business owner could easily think these hashtags are relevant for my business. But in your opinion, in your expert opinion, what is the best practice to find the best hashtags that are actually going to generate exposure and leads for that particular business?
Yeah, I've done quite a lot of testing myself on that with my channels as well, and there is trial and error. First and foremost, there's no like kidding. There's no joking around about it. Really, there is trial and error, and there are tools, like you said. There's quite a lot of tools that you can use to help you determine what the right hashtags you're using. But sometimes it's also to do with what you're talking about as well. You might be talking about a subject that not a lot of people are interested in or even searching for, and that goes with YouTube and Facebook. It doesn't matter where you're posting this content. You want to actually use and sometimes using things like Zoho Social. I think Social Blade is another one. And these are some like keyword related software that you can use. They're free, by the way, to a certain point, obviously, but they are pretty decent as well. Obviously, you can use Google Trends as well to see what people are genuinely talking about. And then sometimes you might want to follow the Hootsuite. They write really quality blogs, in terms of what some of the hot topics are out there as well. Yeah, and when it comes to these tags and hashtags and that sort of thing, and titles that you're using and the right keywords to use, some of these will help you as well. But I think just to finish the point on the hashtags element, try to use the hashtags where it's not too generic, like food or something like that. So if you're based in Birmingham and you're selling a certain type of food, you might want to put the location as well as the type of food that you're using, and maybe use about 3 words. 3 words is my target, is my kind of advice to people when you're using hashtags. Try not to use 5-6 words, because most likely people won't be searching that much longer. Like, I love Indian food in Birmingham. That's too many words. Most likely people won't be typing that.
Sentence.
Unless you're really desperate, right? Unless you really want to really niche into that, but most likely they won't. And also use the name of your business. So I started using hashtag Super Leads Media, for example, as well. Because people might search for you. Like they might watch this right now and they might search for Super Leads Media or something, and hopefully you'll see quite a lot of content regarding Super Leads Media. So yeah, try these things out. And like I said, it is trial and error for a certain degree as well.
For those of you who don't know, LinkedIn is the only social media platform, as far as I'm aware, that links directly to Google. So, for example, if you were to put a hashtag on your LinkedIn post, that is more likely to help your business or your profile show up in the Google rankings. So definitely recommend using hashtags on LinkedIn. Gareth has also just asked how long would you suggest for marketing videos? Gareth, do you mean like if you're doing a paid video ad, or do you mean if you're doing an organic video, like posting it on a business page? And then he's also just asked, the first 6 seconds are vital for video to get the customer engaged. How do you both ensure your videos are engaging? So yeah, Gareth, if you could clarify what you mean, like whether or not you mean how long do you want the video advert to be, or if it's an organic post that you're thinking, let us know. Zeeshan, do you want to go first in answering the second part of Gareth's question, which is the first 6 seconds vital to get the customers engaged? What do you do to keep them engaged?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, to get a customer or anyone that's watching your videos engaged, you kind of have to have the you have to know who you're targeting essentially, and you kind of have to understand who your audience is. So that's the first aspect of it. The second might be more to do with the layout of your delivery in that video. So immediately you might say, hey guys, here's the top 3 ways of actually increasing your traffic to your website for absolutely no cost at all. Now that might actually capture somebody's attention quite quickly, and might keep them longer than the 6 seconds that Gareth mentioned. So then you've got their attention, and now try to maybe go in a bullet points kind of method, and actually give obviously your content that way. And then when you end your content, try to end it in a positive way as well, where you can quickly just summarize what you just said, and also kind of give people a call to action as well. And also some of it is to do with maybe editing as well. So I know that I've noticed this just because when I started my my business it was very much to do with editing and audience and what will intrigue an audience. So things like the way you edit, for example. So for example, the basic, you can pretty much find this on any, I think, editing tool, whether it's the free ones or the more expensive ones. You can actually use like, I think they call it like flash or something, where it's like a white flash. So even most videos will be silent, so, and if they're silent, obviously they can't hear obviously what you're saying, so they might be able to somewhat see what you're saying or see your video. And so when it flashes at the corner of their eye, that happens to me all the time. Sometimes you go onto YouTube, and now with YouTube, for example, they kind of like play the videos, but obviously without the sound. And so that like sometimes captures my my attention, even though even if I'm not looking, I still sometimes like get it. So sometimes it's to do with like the editing as well that can help you get that engagement.
Absolutely, I totally agree, and I think it's about adding the type of value that your audience are looking for. And I've done a few videos on this before. Like, your audience are looking for different forms of value. Sometimes they're looking to be educated about something. Sometimes they're just looking for a little bit of information about something. Sometimes they just want to be completely entertained and watch cat videos. So by doing a bit of research, you can figure out what it is that your audience actually wants, and therefore tailor all of your content around them. Gareth's just come back and said paid and organic. So he's put together 2 30-second videos for his newborn photography. So I think 30 seconds is, I think that's a decent amount of time. Yeah. The average attention span is about, on social media, it's about 3 seconds. That means that you've got 3 seconds to capture people's attention. So I'm glad that I've got your guys' attention.
Depends the avenue as well, would you say, Rohini? So if you're like putting videos on, say, Instagram or even TikTok, where literally 3 seconds, I think, in terms of grabbing people's attention. Whereas maybe LinkedIn or Facebook, you got a bit more time, I think, and people do actually want to. People who don't mind, I think, on say LinkedIn and Facebook and even YouTube, to watch longer videos. So photography, for sure, 30 seconds might be a good start. But I think it's worth trialing actually a longer form video, where it's 5 minutes, 10 minutes, maybe even longer. We've got this video which is going on probably about half an hour now. There might be people that might watch it all the way to the end, so I'd be quite interested if people maybe commented or let us know some way that whether they watch this video all the way to the end or whatnot. It'd be interesting to know, and sometimes even ask your customers as well, or your viewers, like what they like and what their interests are. And then that's another way of generating content. I know some businesses out there worry about, what do I talk about? Ask your customers, and tell them, and then obviously create the content as well around that.
Yeah, I think some people can get a bit sort of self-conscious about asking their customers what it is that they want, because they almost feel like they, as the business owner, you're expected to know what your audience's problem is really and how you can fix that. But ultimately, it's about doing your own research and being comfortable in asking your audience actually what is it that you want, what part of my content is resonating with you and what is not resonating with you. And I think in doing that, you're able to hone in what is working and what isn't working.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, guys, we're about to wrap up now. So, how can people get in touch with you, Zeeshan, if they wanted to have any of your services?
I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on YouTube now, I'm on Instagram, Facebook as well. So literally, if you just typed in Super Leads Media, or if you typed in my name and Super Leads Media, you should be able to find me. Also, you can always email me as well at zeeshan@superleadsmedia.com. And you can always obviously message me there. I'm always happy to obviously discuss anything that I've discussed today, you know, more in depth with you, no problem at all. Yeah, I'm available there on those panels.
By the way, guys, I would highly recommend that you follow Zeeshan and Super Leads Media, because he does regular videos that are actually really, really useful for businesses, because he teaches you the stuff that social media experts don't want to show you.
Yeah.
Yeah, basically. So, guys, have an amazing evening, whatever you're doing. Sending you guys lots of love. Zeeshan, have a great evening yourself.
Thank you very much. Firstly, thank you so much, and allowing me to be probably the first person on this series. So thank you so much for inviting me, and I look forward to more of these later on.
All right, speak to you soon. Take care.
Cheers. Bye.